Welcome to the Merton Heritage Alphabet, an A to Z of our borough's colourful past. This next film covers our letter N, which refers to Nelson. During the 1750s, the site in the parish of Merton was occupied by Moat House Farm. This was later purchased by Sir Richard Hotham, an MP who had made a fortune from making hats and was later responsible for popularising Bognor as a holiday destination for leading members of English society. By 1800, the house was known as Merton Place and belonged to Charles Greaves, who ran a local calico printing works. In 1801, the famous naval commander Lord Nelson was about to return from sea and was looking for her a new home. He had split from his wife Fanny and had fallen in love with Lady Emma Hamilton, wife of a British diplomat, Sir William Hamilton. Sir William was much older than his wife. He was also a great friend of Nelson and admired his bravery and skill as a naval commander. This may be why he chose to either accept or ignore the developing relationship between his wife and the Admiral. It was decided that when Nelson returned to England, he would share his home with Lady Emma and her husband. It was Emma who eventually found Merton Place and bought it on Nelson's behalf. The house was then a fine but simple mansion that Emma and her mother set about improving before Nelson's arrival. When he first saw the house and garden in October 1801, he is said to have been delighted with the property. The entrance gates to Merton Place stood on the site now occupied by the Nelson Arms pub. From 1801, Nelson purchased further land from his neighbours, including Mr. Halfhide, a calico printer from nearby Gatehouse. By 1805, his property covered some 600 acres of land. During this period, Merton High Street marked the boundary between the parishes of Merton to the south and Wimbledon to the north. Merton Place itself stood in a relatively small parcel of land in the Merton area. Most of the Nelsons' estate, however, lay across the road in Wimbledon, including stables, ornamental gardens and farmland. In Nelson's day, a tunnel ran below Merton High Street, wide enough for a horse-drawn carriage to drive through. This allowed Nelson, Emma and their guests to move from one side of the estate to the other in privacy, not least as many local noblemen were scandalised by Nelson's unusual domestic arrangements. The pub shown in this picture was built in 1910 and is decorated with tile murals depicting Nelson and his flagship Victory, produced by Garters of Poole. Popular with the ordinary working population, Nelson, as local squire, played an active part in local life. The son of a Norfolk clergyman and a devout Christian, Nelson attended St Mary's Church each Sunday with his family and staff. An old wooden bench at the front of the church is said to have been part of Nelson's original box pew. In Nelson's day, many people were kidnapped from Africa and sold into slavery in America and the Caribbean. Others ended up as servants working in the houses of wealthy British and European families. Lord Nelson is said to have purchased a young woman, Fatima Quashibor, from Egypt, and she was brought to England to work as a lady's maid for Lady Hamilton. Nelson and his family are said to have been very fond of Fatima, and on the 26th of April 1802, they came to St Mary's Church to watch her baptism. She was baptised with family names, Fatima Emma Charlotte Nelson. Fatima her original name, Emma after her mistress, and Charlotte after Nelson's favourite niece. Nelson's godson was also baptised in the same church at around the same time. Nelson and the Hamiltons are also known to have visited Wandle Bank House in Collier's Wood. This was the home of Nelson's friend James Perry, the Scottish editor of the Morning Chronicle, then the most popular London newspaper. Nelson and Sir William are thought to have fished in the nearby river Wandle. James Perry also owned the adjacent Merton flour mills. Driven by the water of the River Wandle, its giant water wheels ground much of London's flour supply. Early in 1805, whilst Nelson was away at sea, Lady Hamilton engaged architect Thomas Chawner to renovate Merton Place. This included adding a new kitchen, bedrooms and toilets. The gardens were also extended to include a moat, named the Nile after the site of Nelson's famous naval victory in 1798. Eagle House on High Street, Wimbledon was built in 1617 for a wealthy businessman. In 1790, it was bought by Nelson's friend and vicar, Reverend Thomas Lancaster. Here he founded a private school for the sons of wealthy gentlemen. In 1805, Lord Nelson and Lady Hamilton visited the school. The boys were lined up to meet the couple and entertain them by reciting poems. As a token of his appreciation, Nelson allowed Reverend Lancaster to rename the building Nelson House School. It was in use for education for over 80 years. Cricket is said to have been played on Mitcham Cricket Green since the 1690s, and Lord Nelson is known to have travelled by carriage from Merton Place to watch the Mitcham team in action. Before his departure for the Battle of Trafalgar, Nelson is said to have watched a Mitcham match and gave a young player a shilling to drink to the British victory over Emperor Napoleon's French navy. The years spent at Merton with Emma and their daughter Horatia, whose identity was kept secret, were amongst the happiest of Nelson's life. He often spoke of dear, dear Merton. Merton Place was often filled with visitors, and dinner parties were organised to entertain his family and naval friends. However, in September 1805, he was called back to command the British fleet and left Merton for the last time. On the 21st of October 1805, having supervised a decisive victory over the French navy, Nelson was fatally wounded by an enemy sniper. He was buried with great ceremony in St Paul's Cathedral. The funerary hatchment bearing Nelson's coat of arms was placed outside Merton Place as a mark of respect. It is now displayed in St Mary's Church in Merton Park. Grief-stricken after Nelson's death, Lady Hamilton sought solace in grand parties and gambling. By 1823, she had fallen into spiralling debt, and a group of Nelson's friends sought to help her by purchasing Merton Place and much of the surrounding land. Much of Nelson's Wimbledon estate was inherited by his brother. However, the Merton estate was divided into building plots and auctioned at the White Hart Inn on Kingston Road in Merton in 1823. The house itself had already been demolished. During the Victorian period, roads, houses and workshops were built on Nelson's former estate. Many of the streets were named after Nelson and his circle, including Nelson Grove Road, Hamilton Road and Hardy Road. St John the Divine Church in South Wimbledon was built to mark 100 years since the death of Nelson and stands on part of his former estate. Part of the church altar features wood from Nelson's flagship, the Victory. The adjacent Nelson Gardens also opened in 1905 on land given by the descendants of Nelson's neighbour, Rear Admiral Isaac Smith. The cannon shown in the picture on the right are said to have been garden ornaments from Nelson's home, Merton Place. By the 1960s, many of the streets and small factories built on Nelson's land were in poor condition, cold, damp and overcrowded. The local council decided to knock them down as part of slum clearance and here built the High Path estate. Today, the site of Nelson's Merton Place is occupied by the flats and maisonettes of Dole Close. If you would like to know more about Merton's history, visit our Merton Memories website at www.merton.gov.uk/memories. You can also find more information at Merton Heritage and Local Studies Centre, which is based on the second floor of Morden Library.